I'm going to show you how I shot this photo and why I actually failed. Hey, what is going on YouTube? My name is Mo and I'm a car photographer from Bahrain. If you'd like to learn all about car photography and Photoshop, then go ahead and subscribe now and ring the bell so you don't miss out on all the cool stuff that I create every week. So I posted this photo last week on my YouTube channel and I challenged you guys to tell me whether it was strobed or light painted. You'd be surprised that it's neither. Well, kind of. Let's roll back a bit. So about a month ago, I've been given two cars by Audi to shoot, the Q7 and the SQ5. And the theme of the shoot was mainly about Ramadan. So I had this idea of placing the car just in front of the Bahrain skyline, and that would give you a feel of where the car is, as in location. And then I would Photoshop in the crest or the moon to give it that Ramadan feel. However, it did not work very well. Mainly because the car was just too dark. It almost was black than dark blue or navy blue or whatever the color is. And I tried everything from light painting to strobing. I changed angles, I removed the CPL, I attached the CPL. Nothing have worked. So I got frustrated. I went back home and I was like, yeah, I failed. And I actually did. It was my mistake. I didn't account for the car's color. I should have chosen a different location or maybe a different time of the day. But hey, let me show you how I ended up with this photo. So back at home, frustrated, eyes filled with tears, an idea just sparked. Now, let me show it to you. So the first two layers are basic layers. I shot the wheels or the rims using the Profoto B1. And I've applied masks just to mask them in. And as you can see, the base layer at the back here, it was just exposed for the background. Now the idea that sparked was, I shot these after sunset. And I was like, would it be possible to just paint these in? And of course, a lot of Photoshop was involved to see if it actually works. Now, it might not look 100% natural, but it was worth the try. So I masked in the parts and ended up with kind of this. Not really ended up. I had to do a lot of work to match the colors. Now, I added a bit of levels just to brighten the car, and then curves just to add a bit of contrast and bring back the color to the car. This layer was the ground exposure. Now if I just remove that mask, you would see I've light painted and I've used this frame or this layer to light up the ground, and perhaps I've used some of that on top of the car here. Now let me just apply the mask. Yep. So it was used here and there. Just the highlights on top of the car. I don't know if you see this. I then brought in another layer, which was this. It was brighter. I just needed to get more details on the side of the car and brushed it in using the masks. And for some reason, I can't recall why, I brushed in the rims as well. Perhaps I was just experimenting and I left it there. I then applied an adjustment layer, which is a level, just to brighten the areas that I've just brushed in. And so I applied that to the layer below it and then added this kind of white streak using the pen. It's like a highlight. If I remove the mask, I basically used the pen to trace around the car and then just like painted that in and applied a mask to kind of blend it in. And so as I expected, I didn't like the way the rims and the wheels looked like, so I added in an exposure from a light painting one that I did and masked it in. I then masked in the headlights and basically exposed the photo for the headlights and masked them in. Moving onwards, I felt that this side of the car was still too dark, so I again brought in another exposure, which is very bright, and I masked that part in so it blended with that highlight that I created. All right, so I think we've left one of the masks out. Let me just enable that, and there you go. So this is what I ended up with so far within this edit. And then I thought, okay, I added the curve layer, just a normal contrast across the entire photo. And then I brought in this moon or crest photo from Shutterstock. And I used a combination of mask and blend if to blend in the layer. So this is what I've used so far in terms of blend if. All right, moving onwards. I started slightly cleaning up the layer here. If you can see, I removed the people, the car, and I didn't like that star there, so I removed it. And then I had these barriers to the right and the left of the car. And actually what I did, I shot one entire image of the back frame without the barriers. So I actually walked down until there and shot through the lake to get a clean photo that I can basically mask in. So here's the left side, and if I just remove the mask, there you go. And here's the right side. If I remove the mask, there you go. I then used the camera raw filter just to bring the exposure up a tad and the whites. I then applied a hue and saturation adjustment layer just to remove a bit of the blues that were on the Audi emblem or logo. Moving onwards, I then applied another camera raw filter just to brighten the entire image. Now let me put that one up. So here are the overall settings. I've got the exposure up, a bit of the whites, and a bit of clarity, and that's it. So now the image became just too heavy to edit. And the way to mitigate this, what I do, I save this as a large document format, PSB format, and then I merge or flatten the photo and save it as a TIFF to continue the edit. Well, let me show it to you. All right, so here's the TIFF file, and let's carry on where we stopped. So the next thing I did, I cleaned up the ground because it was just too distracting. Use the clone stamp tool to clean these areas. I then merged all the layers into one to be able to use the patch tool to fix down this area. And then I decided, yeah, well, it requires more cleaning, and I cleaned up furtherly, and then again I merged all the layers, and then just to use the patch tool over there. Now I know this is not the right process of doing things, but I was so tired. Perhaps I spent over God knows how many hours editing this photo, so a lot of thoughts were just popping in and out. Now then, a lot of you would tell me that the color of the car is wrong, and you're right. You're absolutely right. It was a very challenging color, and I used a different kind of weird technique. So I had to correct the color, and I did. Well, this is the closest thing that I would get to the original color. So I started with the rims, and I just wanted to darken the rims a bit. And then I wanted to fix the color, and I used the hue and saturation and then colorize to add color to the car. And then I used masks to just mask in these parts of the car. And then I used the curves just to adjust the brightness of the car. Then I added another curve to fix the color, and I went to the individual channels. So red, I didn't touch the green, I think it was blue, so I added a bit more of yellow to the color towards the midtones and the shadows. And then of course I kind of darkened the color a bit, and if you notice, I've set the blending mode to color, so it will only affect the color. And then I added another hue and saturation, and that's to desaturate the parts of the car that were black. And then I applied curves to just darken them. And then I again added another curve to darken this area, but it changed the color. And so I added a hue saturation to adjust the color of the car to match. And then I looked at it and I was like, well, it looks dull. So I used another hue and saturation layer to bring back some of the color of the car entirely after all the adjustments. And ooh, that was it. Yeah, it took me God knows how long to do that, and I actually failed. It just didn't work for me, and I thought, you know what, let me try this method and use Photoshop to try and make it match. Now, I'm not sure if I did a good job or not. That's up to you to decide. Please leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Now, the other thing that I would do to this photo is perhaps just add a bit of fog towards the end. Not too much, but right now it seems like it was composited in the photo and there is no depth between the background and the car. All right, YouTube, we've reached the end of this tutorial. Now, if you have any question, please leave me a comment in the comment section below. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'll see you in the next video.